Now, you talk in your book about strategic corruption. How does that work in terms of like the Chinese Communist Party itself?
That's right. Another reason to update the book was the war in Ukraine, and it's been the point I want to make is most people at this point don't have difficulty grasping the concept that Vladimir Putin controls hundreds of oligarchs. These oligarchs, many of them rise from organized crime backgrounds. They work directly hand in hand with, the FSB, which is the successor of the KGB, which Vladimir Putin, of course, was a KGB agent. And these Russian networks, after the fall of the Soviet Union, the KGB, Putin and his friends in mafias, they didn't stop working together. They use underground banking to evade sanctions so they can still build their weapons, even though Western nations may have applied sanctions that meant to stop the Soviet Union. And they use they send oligarchs abroad to invest. I'm thinking Florida hosts a very interesting oligarch that I'm looking into right now. They send them to invest in energy abroad. Really, the method is strategic corruption. They want to get implanted in Western economies so they can influence politicians who we know always love to see jobs. They don't like to see the economy turned down. But it's all built around, it originated with the fall of the Soviet Union and these networks trying to continue to influence these post-Soviet states like Ukraine. That's strategic corruption involving organized crime, the Kremlin, and a bunch of spies. And what I argue in the book is China has taken that model and brought it to the high-tech era and is a thousand or more times better at using that Russian model of corruption. They're more difficult to detect. They're more sophisticated. And what I've written about in the book, the casino activity, the real estate activity, the espionage activity, it all relates to that strategic corruption model.
So what you're saying is that these triads that are coming from Hong Kong and Macau and doing all this narco trafficking and human trafficking in Canada are like, they're not just purely independent gangsters, that they're actually directed by the Chinese Communist Party.
Yes. That in a nutshell, some of the most powerful people in those triad networks are intelligence or security officials in China that have been given 100% carte blanche by the CCP to use whatever means they can to fulfill Beijing's objectives. And as one source would tell me, those means involve being a 100% gangster. So you can be a PLA veteran, an intelligence boss of a bunch of gangsters. So you're right. You can be an official from China who controls gangs. That's simply how it's explained to me by my sources and some of the documents I cite.
I guess the thing that's crazy to me is like I don't think you'd have you wouldn't have Trudeau or the United States doing this kind of stuff with Russia. Like people get like, oh, you don't want to work with Russian oligarchs. That's a problem. Why isn't China and these Chinese oligarchs and their connections to triads? Why is this like some loophole where people just completely, well, I guess they're willfully blind?
Well, Chris, you're talking about these so-called Chinese oligarchs, but I think maybe you're just racist.
Mm-hmm. Is that it, that you just can't say you're racist against Russians? There's got to be a better explanation.
Well, there does have to be a better explanation, but it's there's no irony in that answer from Matt. This is a tool that's used by the Chinese Communist Party that whenever someone comes out and criticizes, like the Canadian MP that I've talked about, who said we need a foreign agent law, to deal with North Korea, Iran. He didn't even name China. He's talking about authoritarian states, but he was tarred and smeared as an anti-Chinese racist.
Right, even though he's ethnically Chinese, though.
Correct. It's ridiculous. It's absurd. And yet, what I would tell you is these arguments are made, and it's my argument that the people making them are not stupid. We're talking about senators. We're talking about heads of industry. Some of these people are not only just parroting these false, fake news CCP talking points, they are paid under the table. They're compromised. And yet, this goes full circle. Why does Canada need a Foreign Agent Registration Act? It's so that these people can't secretly be taking, cash from Huawei under the table to say, why are we being mean to Wang Zhao? This is inflaming racism. So there's a bigger direction behind those, what logical people see as absurd claims.